This is your moose shooting report. Yellowstone National Park, last week of January 2025. This is an amazing place, as you can hear in the background. Yeah, they're calling. Now, Yellowstone in the winter, it breaks the definition of winter wonderland. It is spectacular. It has changed over the many years we've been coming here. A little bit less snow, and sometimes the real cold temps don't appear. Now this year, we have, I'm going to say, a good cover of snow, not great, but we do have the minus 26 at the beginning of the week, and it warmed up to minus 2 at the end of the week. Now, why do I want those temperatures? Well, those temperatures are kind of important. The first thing is the cold temps and the snow is what brings to life many of the features that are Yellowstone. For example, one of my favorites, mud flats, sunrise. Oh God, it's spectacular. Everywhere you turn and look, you've got gorgeous light. You've got the thermals, which are really active, and because it's so cold, the steam is terrific. It's just everywhere. It's gorgeous. So that's one of the reasons why I like the cold temps. Next is it brings out the crusties on the bison, which we really didn't have this year. We have bison this year, which is cool. Some years we never see them, and that's because of the lack of snow cover. They have places to go, so they're not close to the road. And the road is everything. So in this case, one thing you have to keep in mind is the fact that, you have to get in either by sled or snow coach. I don't like sleds for a lot of reasons. So I actually charter for the week out of Yellowstone Vacations, one of their snow coaches. So it's all ours for the whole week. And I'm really fortunate. I always get Bob, marvelous driver, 30 years of experience. And he gets us around the park, and we each morning have a little confab. I hear where I want to go from people, then he tells me what he's heard, and between the two things, we off and go shooting. Now every year is different. You got to understand that. And this year, heard about the Wapiti Lake pack over in Hayden Valley. And the pack is huge. As I've talked about on the podcast already, we had 24, we had 24, X&A, 24 of those members of that pack at one time. We could see them all. And this was the culmination of many decades of getting out and looking for them. We actually got to see the takedown and the kill of a bison, and it was epic. It was epic. Now, here's a pano from Grizzly Point where we were. You can see Hayden Valley. You can't see Yellowstone River because it's all snowed over, and can't see the lush green because of the snow. But you look in that lower left corner, you'll see the kill, and then you see the rest of the valley. And that was our view for 2 days. Seriously, we were stopped, parked there for 2 days. And it was spectacular. It was amazing. We had the wolves, which is a major, I don't want to say attraction, wrong word, a major draw for me in Yellowstone because they're so fascinating. They're amazing. Things we learned and saw, for example, is one crazy wolf, because I could do a whole story on this. There's one crazy wolf started jumping up and down at a tree, as you can see in the photograph. Couldn't figure it out for a while. Then a couple of wolves came later, and as it turned out, the ravens were finding scraps at the kill site and putting it in the tree. The wolves smelled it, and they're yanking it down. Just nature. It's amazing. So that was a great occupation. There were also a lot of great gray owl sightings in the park, and that's very exciting. We never saw one, never got glass on one. Kept looking, Fishing Bridge and over at Firehole Lake Drive, but we never found them. So you've got all those great things. What else? The coyotes. They're just gorgeous. I love the coyotes. We spent time with the coyotes. They were mostly at the kill site. We saw them everywhere else. We never saw any fishing coyotes, which is a unique biology to coyotes there in Yellowstone. Mentioned we had the bison. We had a great time with ravens, and ravens are just amazing. They hang out waiting for people in sleds. They know how to open up the zippers and get the food out. They're just a marvelous, fun critter to spend time with. And then you have the sights, and one sight that is always spectacular, no matter what, is Lower Yellowstone Falls from Artist Point. It's a beautiful place, and this year with the minus temps and all, had a great ice cone and great ice formation. Great place for 7200 zoom and just hanging and enjoying. It's a marvelous place to be. Went up, of course, to Biscuit Basin, there was another big explosion there. Everybody knows about the first one last summer. There was another one, so it's even more torn up. You can't get to it. Then we went up to the upper part of the basin, which is Old Faithful. Had a cloudless, basically, day, and it was okay. But it was great for black and white. Had the eruption, which in the wintertime, the cold temps, that steam is just spectacular. Then we worked everything from Firehole Falls, which is a really beautiful 7200, like 4-second exposure kind of place. Now, if you listen to my podcast a couple weeks ago, you will hear how I dealt with the cold and the gear and condensation, so I'm not going to repeat it here. It's all there for you. Primary lens was the Z600 f4 TC with the Z9. Was at times the 2X was added to it, handheld and or tripod. An important accessory, I think, when you're out there are ice claws. Ice claws are from Really Right Stuff, and when you put that tripod down, it's not going anywhere. And that's important because snow and ice, you can slip, and if you're using proper long lens technique and you're holding down, you can actually move the tripod on ice. So those claws really come in handy. When it comes to clothing, it's what I've talked about before on the podcast and on the website, so I'm not going to repeat that. We do stay in West Yellowstone. That's my preference. One, because I have dear friends that own the lodge where we stay, so we get a killer rate. And then Bullwinkles, what can I tell you? It's Bullwinkles, The food is great. The owners are fantastic. You go in there, you'll see a lot of prints of moose. Yeah, those are ones I gave her because, well, she's just a special lady. So I like to help her out. And that's basically, the gist of it. It'd be great if you could take this and say, oh, that's what moose did. It'll be like that for me. It won't be. So, in a nutshell, Yellowstone, as far as I'm concerned, is at its best when it's minus 10 or colder. Yeah, cold. And when you start getting to 0 and above, it's just not the same. Critters aren't the same. The photography's not the same. The thermals aren't the same. When you walk painted mud cones, and it's 10 above, and you walk it at minus 10, you'll see it's a whole nother landscape, and it's so much more beautiful at minus 10 or colder. But we, like I said, stay in West. We drive in every day. You're on the roads, drive out. Driving is part of the process. It takes some time, but it's a gorgeous view. It's a beautiful place. And that's my shooting report for Yellowstone, last week of January 2025. Got to get there.